The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and I'm back. We're here with you webcasting live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism and how you and I can be more efficient, more effective working with a child on the autism spectrum, or really working with anyone who has any circumstances that they would like to increase skills or decrease behavior that they would rather not have. Because really, we talk a lot about ABA, applied behavior analysis, and how we can apply these principles to our life so that we can live a better life. And most especially, I mean, really, the thing that we focus on the most is how we can use these principles to help someone who is on the autism spectrum to have less of the disabling aspects of the disorder and to be able to move freely through their life with all of the good things that they have going on. That's very near and dear to my heart because my child is on the autism spectrum. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He is 9 now. And so this is a subject very near and dear to my heart, as I know it is to yours. I want to start out by reminding you, in case you forgot, because I've been away for a while. But I want to remind you that this show is meant to be interactive, and I will freely admit that I am wildly underslept today, so I need your interaction today. Let's do this together, as we do every day, and write into us. Emily, our wonderful technical director, is showing you some of the different ways that you can interact with us. I want to remind you that if you're watching us live, the only place right now to watch us live is autism-live.com. You'll see that there's a box there that says Shannon is answering right now. You can type in there and say anything you want. Ask a question, give a comment, say what your weekend is like, what your week is like coming up, whatever it is. And by the way, I want to thank all of you for all of your wonderful well wishes that I got while I was away. I can't tell you how much it meant to me, and I'm so thrilled to be back here with you. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's a short week. We're going to be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because, of course, here in the United States on Thursday it is Thanksgiving. And we will not be here on Thursday or Friday, but we'll be back on Monday, and boy, do we have some exciting stuff going on both this week and next week. So let's get it started with something that I feel like I've missed my morning routine this whole last week. Let's start with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one anagram, and try to figure out just what in the heck people are talking about. We'll hear these phrases in conjunction with our child. And is there anything more important than that? You want to understand what's going on. You want to be able to help your child, and then somebody starts talking in these terms and you go, hello? I'm sorry, I was busy doing other things when you were making up these terms, right? It can be tiresome. But we have to make friends with the jargon. And how do we do this? The same way we teach our kids. Little bitty increments, giving ourselves reinforcement, trying to make it as fun as possible, or at least as we don't want it to be overwhelming, right? So we pare it down into a little thing, try to make sense out of it. Okay, our phrase for today, you ready for this? Random rotation. All right, these are not unfamiliar words to us, right? Random rotation, but what has this got to do with autism? What does this have to do with our kids? Let's take a look. Our actual definition is a procedure used during discrimination training in which the target is interspersed randomly with other targets. Often the other targets have been previously mastered. Okay, well, you know, that's fine. right? But are we any closer to knowing what in the heck this means? I wouldn't be. I wasn't on my first day. Okay, so let's take a look at our working definition. Randomly switching between the behavior you are teaching, the current target, and other behaviors responses the child already knows. So pick anything that you want to teach your child. Let's say that you're teaching your child, a body part. We're working on the whole thing with body parts. I always want to go to colors, and that gets boring after a while. So let's do body parts. We're teaching body parts, and so you want to teach your child that this is their nose, and this is their hair, and these are their fingers, and you've got a list of things that you're going to start with, right? We're not going to start out with elbow, because elbow is a more advanced word, right? If your child already knows hair and face and nose and eyes and ears, then maybe you move to elbow, right? There are age-appropriate, we call these exemplars, or targets. But you're going to pick one to start with, and maybe you start with nose. And so when we first start with something, we're going to mass trial it, which means we're only going to work on that thing. We're going to let everything else be, take a big breath, and we're going to work on nose. And so we'd say to the child, where's your nose? And we'd help them until they really got and understood their nose. Great. So now they've mastered nose. And now we're going to start to work on eyes. Where are your eyes? And they're going to touch, and we're also going to work on it, showing them a picture, point to where the eyes are, right? We're going to work on it in different ways, but we're only working on eyes. That's mass trialing. But eventually your child has nose and they have eyes, and maybe they have tongue or they have ears, whatever, or hair, whatever you chose to work on in whatever order. So now we move into random rotation. When they've got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things mastered, now we're going to see if they really can discriminate between them. Because if all we're teaching is nose, we don't want it to get into routine. We want to make sure that they know the difference between nose and hair. So now we're going to randomly rotate, which means that sometimes I'm going to say to the child, where's your nose? The child touches their nose. Yay, reinforcement. And then the next time I might say, where's your hair? Child touches the hair. Yay, where are your ears? They're right there. Yay, where's your nose, right? So I'm randomly going between these things, but I don't want to start randomly rotating. A lot of times as parents, and I'm a former teacher, we want to get to that, right? But we don't take the time to make sure that, and I think most of us understand what random rotation is, and we do this when we're with our kids all the time, but first we want to mass trial it. Right? That's the part that's a little bit less familiar to us. It's doing it just over and over. Where's your nose? There's your nose. Great. And we want to then go, okay, where's your eyes? Not in the beginning. Not for our kids. Where's your nose? Yay! You know where your nose is. We might do that in a set of 10 trials of just the nose. Because we're giving the child the opportunity to get it. This is what makes the difference. But once they do have it, and we have a specific criteria for mastery, then, and we got a couple of things mastered, then we're going to move into random rotation. That's when it gets fun, to be honest. And we might see, oops, they don't really know that. Because you say, where's your hair? And they touch their hair, right? And then you say, where's your nose? And they touch their hair again, and you go, okay, we don't have it. We got to go back a little bit. Here's your nose. Yay! The reinforcement, always super duper important. But so when somebody's talking about, well, we're going to randomly rotate this with your child, it means that they're going to be working on it with other things as well to make sure that they know them. And we really don't want to be randomly rotating until we see that the child has a couple of things mastered, because the whole point is for them to learn, not to be frustrated, right? We can do this with ourselves too. Do you ever do that when you have to learn something? Maybe you're studying and you learn one thing, and then eventually you got to see if you know the difference between this and the other thing. I mentioned that we went to the Denim and Diamonds a couple of weeks ago. They had a big event for ACT Today to raise money, and there were a lot of stars that were going to be there that I was going to interview, and I wanted to be up on what each one of them had done. And so I did exactly this, there were some people that I already knew, so I didn't have to, I knew who Bonnie Hunt was, right? And I knew who Joe Mantegna was, and there were some people that I knew them, but I didn't know everything that they had done, and I wanted to be up on it. So I would go and work on one person until I had that, and then eventually I had my husband randomly rotate them to make sure that I knew who they actually were. It's a great study technique. And by the way, this works great with our kids on the spectrum, as long as we've done that mass trial first. Really, really effective. Okay, We have every morning a question of the day that we like to ask you. And it's that week where here in the United States, we're celebrating Thanksgiving. And so my question for you today is, how do you plan to celebrate Thanksgiving? And it's different things for different people, and we're going to check in. I know you guys have already been writing in a bunch of stuff. We're going to check in with you later to see. It's different. Some people, it's quiet, and you like to take a day and have the day and watch football games or whatever. Some people don't eat turkey. It's a very individual holiday. I know on television it looks like everyone is sitting down and having turkey and cranberry sauce. It is not the case. People celebrate it in lots of different ways. And so I'd love to hear from you guys, not only what you're eating, but what you do to celebrate this idea of Thanksgiving. It's something that we're going to be talking about all week long. But we will check in on this later on. Okay, so that's the question of the day. We always have a topic of the week. And this topic of the week, which is very fitting, right? Anytime we have a holiday, we need to talk about expectations. And there's so many things to talk about with expectations. Expectations of what it's going to feel like for the holiday, what it's going to be like, expectations for our kids, not just this week, but for this year, for next year, for life, how we deal with expectations. And I have a friend who says expectation is planned resentment. Ooh, right? But this idea of it's hard to walk through life with no expectations, right? But what do we do with expectations so that it's positive when we don't get into, I think so often, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, we have that idea of the perfect holiday, the perfect get-together, and how it's going to be. And here's where perspective taking comes into play. The thing that we're always trying to teach our children, we in the holidays tend to have a hard time with, right? And so not only do we have an expectation of what the holiday is going to feel like and look like and what it's going to taste like, but so does the person sitting on either side of us. They have an expectation, and frequently their expectations don't match ours, and right? And then now throw a child with autism in, and we've got a party, don't we? So we're going to be talking about expectations and how to be hopeful and filled with gratitude, and letting go of the part of expectation that could lead to resentment is tough. It's tough. But let's, and I need this more than anybody. I always like to say to you guys, I am not an expert in autism, not an expert in ABA, not an expert in anything, except maybe running my mouth. And, so this is as much for me as it is for any of you, but we can do this together. Maybe be in a happier place for this week. Okay, so let's take a look at what some of the different things are that we're going to be talking about today. It's Monday, and so always on Monday we have to have our stress tip. And our stress tip is going to go hand in hand with that expectations. We've got a play tip, something fun to do with our kids this week, because you probably have a little bit more time with them. One of the things for our families is that other people go, oh, holiday, time off, time to spend relaxing. And for a lot of us, for autism families, it means, oh, time when the support staff and the support things for my child are not in place, and I might have more difficulty with my child and less help. Right? So dealing with all of that and maybe having something to play with to do later on. And then in the next hour, we're going to be joined by a very special guest that we've had on the show before, Emily Iland. You saw her probably a month and a half ago on our show. She is the president of the Los Angeles chapter of the Autism Society. And that's a wonderful thing. And we had her on talking about that. And I'm so glad that we had her on talking about that. But we've got her on today talking about some of the other stuff that she does. And I've mentioned before on the show how lucky I am in talk about gratitude this week. Emily is one of the people I'm grateful for on this planet. And there are many people that I'm grateful for. But I live in a community that just happens to be the same community that Emily Iland lives. And Emily is one of those pioneers that she was a good 10, 12 years ahead of me on this autism journey, and she swathed a path. Just, really was diligent and was a very on it parent. So when my child was diagnosed with autism, there was already infrastructure in my community. One of the things I've shared before on the show is how important it is that the law enforcement in your area have an understanding of autism. And we've seen why that's so important. And I'm incredibly lucky and incredibly grateful because Emily Iland was instrumental in making that happen in my community. It's just one of the million things that Emily did before I joined the party. And what a wonderful thing to have had that. So I'm incredibly grateful for Emily. And Emily's getting ready at the end of next week. She's having a big conference because she has, first of all, she's the author of a book drawing, Autism Spectrum Disorder A to Z first, but she also has a book out called Drawing a Blank. The subtitle is Improving Comprehension for Readers on the Autism Spectrum. And that's really what she's focusing on next Friday on November 30th, about helping our kids develop the skills that they need to so that they can comprehend what they're reading. Really exciting to me because it's an area where I want to be doing some more stuff with my son, and I hope it's an area that's of interest to you. So Emily's going to be with us just after the top of the hour at about 11:10, 11:15 via Skype, and I'm really excited that we're going to be talking about that and what we can be doing to help our kids to be able to read and understand. And she'll tell her story of why that was so important to her and the individual with autism in her life. So really excited to talk about all of that and more, and to hear from you guys how you have been while I am away, and got some interesting stories to tell. 5 plane flights later with my son. Yes, we have lots to talk about, don't we? Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back with our stress tip for the week. Stick with us. Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
2nd.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Did you have some glasses?
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable, and recovery from autism is possible.
Welcome back. It's that time of the week when we talk about stress. Is there any better week that we could be talking about that? I think the part of the problem with holidays is that we get this idea in our head that it's supposed to be happy, joyous, and relaxing. And I don't know who it is that it is happy, joyous, and relaxing. Let's consider all the different things that have to happen, especially for Thanksgiving here in the United States, that there's a whole lot of shopping that has to be done. So that means spending money, coordinating different people's issues, and food is very emotional, right? And like I said, there's the expectation of what it's going to taste like, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like, who you're going to sit with, what moment you're going to get things to the table, a whole bunch of, way too much food has to get to the table, hot, all at the same time. It is stressful. There's no two ways about it. Plus which then you put in personalities that different people are going to be sitting at the table than normally are. And, even it could be as complicated as what are people going to sit on, right? And where are they going to sit? So there's a lot that has to do with expectation and stress in the holidays. But I have to tell you that coming from the 2 weeks that I have just had, it's been very interesting to me. And so my topic for today, my subheading under stress, is gratitude on a shifting landscape. And I think that this really applies to those of us who have children on the autism spectrum, because it's important to be in gratitude. It's always important to remember what you have to be thankful for. Sometimes that's really hard, right? Sometimes you just sit there and go, I don't think so. Why did this happen to me? What did I do, right? And we're all entitled to those moments. But there's always something to be grateful for, because it could always be worse, right? One of my examples from this week, when my son and I went to get on the first plane, leaving at dark 30, as friends of mine call it, really early in the morning. And my son has been on planes before, but it's been a while, and he didn't really remember, and he's older now, so to go through the TSA thing. And I have been flying more recently, but without my son, which is a new thing for me. And it's intimidating to me. I don't know about you, but it's very intimidating to me. There's a lot. You have to put all your possessions down, take off your shoes. You're at your most vulnerable, and there's a lot going on. And it's intimidating when it's just me, but then with my son there and explaining it to him and people talking to me and people getting frustrated behind, very overwhelming to me, right? And the last 2 times that I've flown, I've had to go through that thing where they scan you, the full body scan, and then I had to have a pat down. Not fun. I don't think that's fun for anybody. I don't think anybody particularly likes it. And I was really hoping to not have to do that with my son, because I thought it was going to upset him, right? So I didn't even notice it, but as I'm putting the things up and I'm talking to him and I'm talking him through the whole thing, sort of in the background, the little program that was running going, oh, please, I don't want to have to be, go through the full body scan. Please, I don't want to have to be patted down, because I didn't want to upset my son. We get to the little metal detector, and I said to the guy, do you want me to go first or do you want him to go first? He said, it really doesn't matter to me, what's better for you. So controlling parent, that helicopter parent that I am, I said to my son, you go through first, because I know I can't come back, right? I said, you go through first, and I said to him, when he gets over there, you make sure he stands there, and I'm saying to my son, you stand there. And I have every expectation that he's going to do that, right? But it's an unknown circumstance. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. So I said to him, go through and stand right there and wait for mom. And so he goes through, and the beep goes off. And I'm thinking, has he got quarters in his pocket? Well, I tried to make sure that he was metal free. Is it his glasses? What did I do wrong? And I looked at the guy, he goes, it's okay. And then I walk through and it doesn't go off, and I breathe this heavy sigh of, oh, okay. And I realize that the mantra has been, please, I don't want to be scanned. Please, I don't want to be scanned. Please, I don't want to be scanned. And the guy says, okay, well, your son got chosen for random search. Wow. Like, right? My stress level went, like up. I think I beamed to the moon with the stress level. And all I could think was, that's not happening. I'm not letting him be pat down. He's 9. We're not doing this. I'm picturing news crews, everything. And in the next breath, before I can even get that breath out, he goes, but because it's a random thing and you were deciding who was going to go first, we're going to let you take it for him. And this is what I talk about, gratitude on a shifting landscape, because in that moment, my mantra had been, please, 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 I don't want to have to do this. And now suddenly I was like, oh, good. What do you want me to do? Start wiping me down with the little chemical swabs, pat me down, because I didn't want it to be my kid. And it's funny how when stuff happens, you very quickly have to evaluate and go, I'm incredibly grateful. I'm now grateful for the thing I was just praying wasn't going to happen, because I didn't want to happen to my son. So, those kinds of moments, they're tough, but I always think, boy, that's the clear moment. Here I had been wasting all this time going, please, I don't want this to happen, and then suddenly I was most grateful for it. So I encourage you this week, as you're going through your week, when you have that expectation of something that you want and you're trying to be in the gratitude, remember that it's okay to be in gratitude on a shifting landscape. And some of the things after this week that I realized, how could I have done things differently? I always think it's great to plan ahead. Planning ahead is so good. I planned before I got on the first plane, and I had a whole meal packed for my son with all his medication on cold things. I was ready. And it was hilarious to me because every airport we stopped in on the way there, they had all kinds of food my son could have eaten. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. In this day and age, it's not going to be flying back in different airports. And I decided, I'm not packing stuff. We'll just eat in the airport. Oh, man. Am I never doing that again? From now on, I'm going to call ahead to the airports and say, what do you have that's gluten-free? What do you have? Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, so planning ahead, right, is step 1. Step 2, and I've got things popping up here. Step 2 is to let go of the plans to be in the moment. That's where we plan and we have the expectation, but in the moment we go, okay, but it's going to be what it's going to be, and it's not going to be what I planned ever. It's still okay to plan, and it's still okay to have some prep, but we have to let go. And isn't that true of everything always in life? Always. Letting go of whatever the expectation was and seeing what happens in the moment. The third thing, most important, keeping a sense of humor about it all. As we went through and I got the whole, swab down and patted down, and then my suitcase went off and they had to swab down the suitcase, and then I was carrying Play-Doh for my niece. Never take Play-Doh to an airport. Never take Play-Doh to an airport. It's a really bad thing. You'll have to trust me on this. But, we kept a sense of humor about it. So by the time every single thing I owned was out in LAX and had gone through the scanner and was swabbed and chemicaled down, and I stood there with my son and he was like, Mom, why are they doing this? And I said, because they're keeping us safe. And that's a really good thing. And we sat and watched and we laughed about getting the suitcase back together. You have to keep the sense of humor. Because if we don't, man, we are in deep doo-doo, right? And And then the last thing, and I will be honest with you guys, I didn't do this week, and I really, when I thought through like what I needed to do for myself in this last week, it's important to have an autism buddy. You know, you have your local support group, you have your global support group. So important to have an autism buddy, that you have somebody that you can call who gets it. That somebody on, like if you're having a bunch of people over for Thanksgiving this week and they're people that you have some issues with, whether it has to do with your child's autism or not, have somebody that you can call or text, or, you know, go to the bathroom and call somebody and say, I just need you to remind me it's not me, right? Right? This is a different set of circumstances. Have an autism buddy, because the truth of the matter is that this is a very unique thing, a unique journey, and people who are not on this journey, bless them, they don't know. We don't hold that against them, because they don't know. But we have to have a place. I'll be honest with you, I watch Parenthood and I love Parenthood. I just love that show, and I love to watch this family. It pains me to see all the things that they're going through, but I always think I just want to step into the show and be the autism buddy to that mom and that dad, because I know, you know, they're just characters, but it's very real to me, what they're going through, and I think it's very real to a lot of us. And I want them to have an autism buddy, and I deserve an autism buddy, and you deserve an autism buddy. Somebody that you can call and say, this was hard because, and the other person goes, yes, of course it was hard. And you go, okay, not just me. All right. That's how we stay in the gratitude on that shifting landscape. And the truth is, for us, it's always a shifting landscape. You never know what you're going to get, right? It's Forrest Gump. You know, some of the different things, and we'll talk about it throughout the show, some of the different things that happened with my son, some of the things that I thought he wouldn't handle well, that he was a champ. Oh my goodness, he was such a champ. And then there were just little things that would just set him off, that were just really hard. The second of the 3 planes yesterday, he dropped one of his little DS games as the plane was taking off down through the seat, and he couldn't find it. Cramped in 3 seats in economy, and he started to have a total panic attack about it, and was so distressed. And I said, oh my goodness, after everything we did, you know, we got through it. We got through it because he was trying to stand up and take the seat apart, I've never seen the flotation device come off before, but I did yesterday as the plane was taking off. Keeping a sense of humor, and keeping the gratitude on that shifting landscape. It's going to be tough this week because of whether you're traveling or having people come, or dealing with not having people there, or, you know, whatever it is. But we can stay in gratitude, and it's important that we do. There's so much to be grateful for. We all have something to be thankful for, even in the worst moments. And sometimes it changes on that landscape. Sometimes the thing we most didn't want, we can be most grateful for. So, but keeping the stress level reasonable with a sense of humor. Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our play tip for the week, something that we can do with our kids this week, that fun thing to do, and will help them reduce their stress, and is a really good sensory thing for our kids. So stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, you know, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back. Just a quick note, somebody wrote in and said, welcome back, Shannon. I missed you. I missed you too. So glad you survived your trip with Jem. We did. I can't even imagine how he is at school this morning. The plane landed at 12:15 this morning, and that was 2:15 our time coming from the west. So, ooh. Scary tired. And I hope you were able to spend lots of quality time with Jem and your mom. I did, so thank you so much for that. And somebody else wrote in and said, I'm incredibly grateful, there it is, for your funny true life stories, crack me up, swab me down, cute. That literally is what they do, you know. You put your hands out and they have these little tissue things and they swab you down. They have to wipe, they swab you down. They were swabbing down the clothes, swabbing down the Play-Doh, swabbing it all down. It was really, you got to keep your sense of humor. In any case, it was interesting. Boy, all the different things. My son, who, we try to be really, really healthy, and we had all kinds of problems yesterday. So as he was launching into his second bag of potato chips, which my child, who normally does not have potato chips, is a huge, huge treat. But there are gluten-free potato chips that they had in the airport. And he was having potato chips and orange juice for dinner. And we did get some like carrot sticks and celery and hummus that they had at one place. And, but still, quite a bit of sugar for my son's little ecosystem. And I said, well, we're just going to have to get another bag of potato chips. And he was like, Mom, I love airports. Okay, yes, the Parenting 101. Plan ahead. Carry all the food with you. Although I did that, and the first day I didn't eat it. What are you going to do? In any case, it is time for our play tip of the week. It's so important this week that we have things for our kids to do that help them to work through all of the different things that are happening sensory-wise. You know, the house smells a little different during the week of Thanksgiving. The hours are different. I always find it hilarious that why a lot of people I know eat Thanksgiving dinner like at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, which, you know, I'm sure that there's a reason for that is adult-oriented, but for kids, not so good, right? Because now the kids get up and they have breakfast, and we're going to make them wait extra long while we're cooking so that when they get to the table, they're starving. This is a good plan. Why? Right? There's all these things about this holiday that don't necessarily make sense, but we do them. It's tradition. Let's all be miserable at the table with the children who are crying because they're starving. We wouldn't do that any other day of the week, but let's do it in the name of tradition. And then there's all these different smells that we're cooking. There's different people. There's different noises. Sometimes we rearrange tables or rearrange furniture. It's a lot, and there's extra, because there's more people, there's conversation, or you've gone to somebody's house where things are set up different. There might be different plates on the table. For kids who have flexibility issues, nightmare. And for kids who don't have flexibility issues, there's still a lot of sensory stuff going on. Maybe other kids, lots. So it's important that we give them opportunities to work things out, work through things, and find the things that pacify them. Now, we can be doing that to their benefit as well. So the play tip that I've made for this week is clay construction. Now, I'm going to give an asterisk here for this, that if you're doing clay construction, I'm not saying doing it while you're prepping for Thanksgiving dinner, but maybe it's something to do the night before, and you want to be really careful because a lot of clay is pure gluten. And if your child is on a gluten-free diet or has other considerations that they're really super sensitive, like to dyes, you want to be very careful about which clay you use, how you use it, how you clean up afterwards. Whether it's, really intensive nail brush. There are times, depending on where we've been, where we've had those really tight-fitting, not latex gloves. They call them ice gloves. The doctors use them, and they're not latex, and they're very tight-fitting. You can get the really small ones for the kids so that they're still getting the feel of the clay, but if your child's hyperallergic, you want to be really aware of that, because some kids, if they have a wheat sensitivity, they can have it through their skin as well. So plan ahead. But there is, if you can go online and look, there are doughs that you can make really inexpensively at home that are gluten-free. Lots of different, and there are some that are scented. Oh, the crazy things you can do these days to make your Play-Doh. But in any case, let's talk a little bit about the benefit and how you can turn it into a lesson. You can sneak it in so they don't even know you're having it be a lesson. But first rule with play, with kids on the autism spectrum, first and foremost is don't assume that it's fun. Like, you might have a memory of great days in your childhood where you sat and you molded clay and did all these wonderful things, and it was so fabulous for you, but we can't assume that it is for them. It might be a sensory aversive thing to them, that it's cold or that it's warm or that it's gushy or that it gets a little bit stuck on their hands, or that sometimes it transfers a color depending on which kind of clay you're using. So we don't want to assume that it's fun for the kids, and we never want to poo-poo if they're having a reaction sensory to it. We don't want to poo-poo that and make light of it, but we want to help them to work through it. We don't want to give up, right? But help them to work through it. We want to make it fun. And, different kids, different things, but it's okay for us to get a little silly. Play-Doh makes a whole lot of different things that if you can make the ones that make it look like French fries, you can make the ones where you stamp them, you can, all different kinds of things. You can do letters, so you can be working on other things, you can be working on colors at the same time, but make sure that it's something that's fun for the kids. And there's a wide selection at the toy store for things that you can do. And once we've started working on Play-Doh, and you can do free form and be putting colors together and working on all those different things. But we also want to work on helping our children to be able to look at things and be able to match an art object to an actual object, and we can do that with a Play-Doh. We did a little bit on that a couple of weeks ago before I left. But we can be working on, I can make a green snake and have a picture of a green snake and have them match it to it. I can have them identify what they're doing or what I'm doing. I can initiate play with them and say, let's see who can make the tallest tower of red, and have a race to see who can pull their Play-Doh and have it stand up the longest. We can be saying, okay, don't assume that they already know what to do. So you can sit there and say, okay, what shall we make? And if the child says, let's make this, that's great. But you can initiate and say, I know, let's make SpongeBob. Let's get the yellow clay out and let's see if we can make SpongeBob. By the way, when you're doing Play-Doh, and especially with a young child who doesn't have all the tactile things, they don't have all the finger skills, another great thing to do is you can mix toys. You can take the Mr. Potato Head, all those pieces, and make a blob of clay and say, let's make a monster, and have them stick the Mr. Potato Head things in so that they've made this creature. And sometimes it's a little bit more reinforcing to them and gets them into the clay because it looks like something, right? And you can work up to the point where they're going to make it without those things. All right, how are we going to make the eyes? Oh, we're going to show them though. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and to get in there and do that. But make sure when we say plan for generalization that we're not only doing it one way. So let's say that you decide, okay, let's make a snake, and you make a green snake, right? And then the next time you make the snake, well, let's make the snake red and blue striped, right? So that they don't get into this inflexibility of, no, we make a snake and the snake is green and that is all the snake can be, right? because sometimes you will, especially with our kids who are not yet all the way verbal or don't have the ability to be verbal, you'll see that they get distressed, and we don't often know what it is, but it's because we've gotten into one of their flexibility issues. Now, I think we have a videotape of doing some clay construction, don't we, Emily? We do, so let's take a look at that.
What is it? It's spaghetti. It's spaghetti. Oh, it is? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, and we see the child is getting the opportunity to identify with the, you know, it's okay to ask them what it is. And it's okay if you don't understand what they say, but get them to say something and say okay to whatever it is, right? Have them tell you what it is that they're making. It's all good. Do we have another one too, Emily, or that's the only one? We have another one. Let's take a look at it.
I'm making spaghetti.
Oh.
It's really big.
It's really big?
Yeah.
I'm making a hot dog. Mine's kind of small. See?
Okay, and so there's an opportunity where we're initiating that they're doing one thing, we're planning for generalization because we don't want, obviously this child was making spaghetti and now she's making spaghetti again. And it may be that that's all that has occurred to her. You know, there's a blank slate there, and she says, I'm going to make spaghetti, which is great. Spaghetti is fabulous, but it may not have occurred to you, you can make other food. So you see that then the other person says, I'm going to make a hot dog. Oh, okay. Now the child knows I'm going to make spaghetti and I'm going to make a hot dog. Maybe next we want to make something that is not food. Maybe we're going to make, you know, lips or out of that red clay, or maybe we're going to make a Santa figure, or, you know, any one of 1,000,008 things that we could do. But we're going to be able to model and show that we don't have to just do this one way, and make it as exciting as possible. And reinforce them for what they're doing. Pay attention to what they're doing, asking them questions. You see how much opportunity there is for language, but there's also this sensory thing of digging your hands into something that can be really relaxing. You've seen those squish balls that people, executives have these, because there's something about doing that that is a potential to be really relaxing. A really good thing for our children to be able to do. If you're going to be doing it, make sure that you keep it separate from the food, right? Make sure that you're supervising. Your child knows not to put that in their mouth, even when you're making food. And make sure the cleanup is really good. You can put down whatever it is, wax paper or something, or even newspaper, so that it's easy. You just crumple the whole thing up afterwards, and not as big of a wipe down. I'm all about the swabbing it down today. Okay, so there it is, our play tip for the week. Have fun with some clay, and don't be afraid to experiment with some of those. There are all kinds of recipes on the internet for gluten-free and other kinds of clay, depending on what your child needs. Can be really fun. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at your answers to the question of the day. How do you plan to celebrate Thanksgiving? Now's a great time to be writing in on Facebook, Twitter, or on the live site. Stick with us.
Arts and craft activities are a great way to practice on skills you're already working on with your child. For the month of November, we'll be making a paper corn. The skill we're going to be focusing on with this activity is fine motor, more specifically the pincher grasp. You'll see why in just a moment. Depending on the skill level of your child, you can also have them help you fold the paper, trace the silhouette of the corn, or cut it out. It all depends on what you want to be focusing on today. The materials you'll be needing are paper, tissue paper, a pencil, glue, and a cup of water and paintbrush if you're using the wet glue, scissors, and a template you can download from our website at facebook.com/autismlive. And don't forget to like us while you're there. Or you can always just draw it from your imagination. All right, let's start the activity. First I want to do is take my tissue paper I bought from the store and turn it into strips that I can then turn into squares. Again, they don't need to be perfect squares, because we're going to be changing its form anyways in the end. All right, and as you can see, I've done it to several different colors. I cheated and they're all right here for me to use. All right, the next thing we want to do is to make the shape that we're going to be gluing all the kernels onto. I have my template that I already downloaded from facebook.com/autismlive, and now I'm going to use this to make the form that we're going to be gluing onto. I'm going to take one of my pieces of paper, I'm going to fold it in half. This way the corn will be symmetrical. Once it's been folded in half, I'm going to take my form and then I'm going to trace around it. And again, depending on your child's skill level, either you can do it or the child can do it. But again, the focus of this activity is the pincher grasp. All right, now that I have it traced, I'm going to cut it out. And ta-da! Here is my blank corn, but it's missing its kernels. So now that's what we're going to be working on. I'm going to use this glue, but you can always use a glue stick as well. The reason why I like this one is that it doesn't dry as fast. So I'm going to squeeze it all over my corn and then take my paintbrush, dip it in some water, and then smear it all over the corn. The next step is making the kernels. What your child is going to do is take one of the tissue squares and practice their pincher grasp. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And once they have this, then they're going to place it onto the corn. And as you can see, it's got a lot of surface area to cover with these kernels, so lots of opportunities to practice their pincher grasp. And ta-da! It's done. As you can see, lots of opportunity to practice your child's pincher grasp. When you're finished, don't forget to share your pictures online at facebook.com/autismlive. I look forward to seeing them and see you soon. Bye.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
There you go. There's another craft that you can be doing this week. And a lot of times kids, especially school-age children, understand that when there's a celebration, there's decorating to be done. And because they drill that into them at school, don't they? So this can be another opportunity, a craft for you to be doing this week that won't be quite as messy as the clay construction, and could be something that you use to decorate whatever space or as part of a gift that your child gives to somebody going to their house, and great for that pincer grasp and kind of on the relaxing side. Again, we don't want to assume that it's fun for them, but we can make it as fun as possible, and we heap the praise on for how beautiful it is, right? So don't forget, you can check out and get that template on Facebook, on the Autism Live Facebook page. Okay, it is time for us to look at your answers to the question of the day. The question of the day was, how do you plan to celebrate Thanksgiving? And somebody wrote in and said, on alert, LOL. My little monkey is a runner and very adventurous. My aunt's house where we are going has a pool and he loves the water. So many of our kids do. Isn't that interesting? So needless to say, my cell phone will be out of my pocket the entire day, just in case this mama needs to take a swim. And bless your heart, I have to say, you know, I appreciate the fact that you're going and that you've already prepared. You already have a plan that this is going to be an issue, and I'm sure your plan entails I'm probably going to end up, or I may end up in the pool, and so I don't want to wreck my cell phone, but you've come to acceptance on that part of it. There is a little part of me that wants to say, what else is the rest of the family doing to help you? Because if there's a pool and they know that your kid goes in the pool, you know, there is that part of me that goes, I hope the rest of your family is doing something since they've made the decision to have it at the place with the pool. And if not, I just want to say, as an autism buddy, you are doing a good job. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Okay, another person who says, we're not doing anything special. My husband's Asperger's and doesn't care about the celebration. My 3-year-old daughter's ASD and doesn't care about it either yet, and my 1-year-old's too young to care. I'm from another country where, of course, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I love the holiday, though. I think it's a great day to get together with family and be grateful for all that you have, but we don't have family close. Happy Thanksgiving to you. And I say happy Thanksgiving to you as well. And I love that you have the spirit of the day. So much more than many people who will sit down to a turkey with 30 people. You have the spirit of the day, which is about giving thanks for what you have, not what you don't have. And, you know, that you freely admit that you've got some people in your house that it doesn't mean anything to them and it's not as big of a deal to you. And so you're not doing anything special. The only thing that I would say is that so much of the time, we make our own traditions. Do you know what I mean? There have been so many things in my life and in my family's life that we had an expectation that something was going to be a certain way for the holiday, and it didn't work out that way for a particular reason, but we started doing something else instead. And often that becomes part of the new tradition. And so while you're not doing anything special, what you are doing is special. Do you know what I mean? That it's time for you guys, and it doesn't have to be everybody else's Thanksgiving. And maybe there's a tradition for you. I will tell you that on Thanksgiving, frequently on Thanksgiving Day, my husband has to work. My husband does voiceover acting, but his day job is working for Whole Foods Markets. It's like tax time to an accountant. It's a very busy time, and I don't plan on getting to see him a whole lot. He does have Thursday off this year, but it's very rare that he has Thursday off. He usually has to work, and a lot of times it's his birthday, because his birthday is next week. But a lot of times Thanksgiving falls on his birthday, so he's there working on his birthday. And especially when Jem was little, you know, we would stay home and cook, and I would want him to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with me, and he just couldn't have cared less. He just couldn't have cared less. But we have our own traditions now on Thanksgiving that he and I do. And oddly enough, one of them, there's one store that's open on Thanksgiving Day. And so he and I go shopping at that store on Thanksgiving morning, and it's our little tradition. So whatever you do, it doesn't have to be somebody else's tradition, but be mindful of the fact that it is special and that it has the ability to become your new tradition. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to look at one of the other sites here to see, because I know there were a bunch of things that you guys wrote in. You know, because we also post this question on the Center for Autism and Related Disorders page every morning, and they post a picture with it. And there was a picture I don't understand, and some of you wrote in and said you don't understand either. But there was a picture of a pregnant woman blowing on a turkey, a raw turkey. I don't know why. It's the strangest thing I have ever seen in my life, is a raw turkey with a bunch of spices on it, and she's blowing on it, or going to, she's puckering up. It looks like she's going to kiss it. I don't get it. Okay, so somebody wrote in and said, they're celebrating with ham. My son can't stand turkey. This is what I'm talking about. Gratitude on a shifting landscape. You know, you don't like turkey, Thanksgiving. It does not have to be about turkey. Somebody wrote in and said, why is she blowing on the turkey? Thank you. And they said, that makes no sense. I'm right there with you. Somebody else says, my husband is working. I'm hoping to find a restaurant open. No one would ever invite me with my 4 crazy kids for dinner. You know what? They don't deserve you. They don't deserve you. And how lovely for you that you get to go to a restaurant with your 4 lovely kids and have to do no dishes. I love in A Christmas Story when they go out for Chinese for dinner. You know, it's all good. Somebody says, at home with the family. Lovely. And somebody else said, I know to the person who wrote in said, nobody will invite my kids. They said, I know the feeling, thus the reason I do my own thing. Maybe you need to create your own traditions with your kids. They'll love and remember you for that. Try it. Happy Thanksgiving. I totally agree. Somebody else who said celebrated Saturday, November 17th, dinner with my son and his new fiance, turkey leftovers the rest of the week. That's what my family did. We had turkey with my mom on Saturday, and so they'll have leftovers all week long. Somebody else said at home with kids and hubby, half assign dinner because my kids won't eat. So I'm not blowing the budget making food only I will enjoy, but I hope you got enough of it for you. You know, and this is the other thing, quite honestly, for Thanksgiving. If you are going someplace for Thanksgiving, I would encourage you, and if your child is a picky eater, pack a plate of whatever your child will eat and bring it and unveil it right as you go to the table. People will make noises. People will say, what are they eating? But you know what? Don't ask your child to eat things at somebody else's house that they wouldn't eat at your house. Don't wreck your holiday that way. Pack it, bring it, and tell everybody to shut their pie holes or they won't have pie. The kids will notice and go, what are you eating? And you know what? Our kids live through it. For my son, that's a conversation starter. I will go and take a plate of stuff for him that is just him so that I don't have to worry about contamination, and I'll heat it up and I'll unveil it and put it in front of him, and the other kids go, what's he got? What's going, you know? And he gets to tell them now. It is what it is. But I'd rather do that than battle or not know that my kid was going to be okay or not have something to eat. I've done that. Gone for Thanksgiving dinner at somebody's house and said, you know, we're gluten-free and maybe we should bring some. No! And then gotten there and they had the gravy all over everything. And, you know. So we don't want to do that. And somebody else said, maybe the woman's kissing the turkey. I don't know. Somebody else who says, spending it with our friends at their house this year, yummy. Good for you. And someone else says, resting. There is that. There is that. I think in the old days, the whole idea of doing the Thanksgiving dinner and cooking all that stuff was that then you didn't have to cook the rest of the weekend. You just had leftovers. I don't know how much it works that way now, but it was the original idea. And we all want to have an opportunity to be thankful and to rest. It is a day for a lot of people of no work. For some people, they're going to work, but for those of us who don't have to, it's a day when we should be grateful and get some extra rest. All right. It is time for us to watch the new episode of The A Word. This is the documentary that's being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. It's ongoing, following a little boy, Jack Riley, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. And we're about 10 weeks into therapy at this point. So take a look at how Jack Riley is responding. ABA therapy is time intensive. It's very intensive for the kids. You can see already how much he's learning, but it isn't always easy because it means asking our kids to do things that they don't know how to do, and they've already found a comfortable way that was working for them, but we have to help them to find a way that works even better than that, and that can be difficult. So take a look. This is The A Word.
Very, very glamorous way of eating. Good boy. Thank you for taking a bite.
It's been about 1 week since Jack Riley's therapist began the feeding program with him. Feeding has been a major behavioral issue for Jack Riley. He refuses to feed himself and typically swats away food when his parents or others attempt to feed him. Up until a week ago, Cheryl and Mike would play a movie or give him toys to distract him in order to get a bite in. During clinic, Jack Riley's supervisor, Sabrina, suggested pausing the movie to motivate him to feed himself so he is able to get his reward.
Okay, let's take a bite. Okay. Oops, I didn't do it. I just touched it. Take a bite. Good. Very good. Good bite. One more bite. Oh, that's a good one. Nice. Yay. Can you take a third one for Mama? Oh. I know. Especially with yogurt. Hi. Hi, buddy. There you go. You did great. Oh yeah, he never fed himself yogurt. When we do it at night, I'll do applesauce with the video and then bring this out for the other stuff just to break it up. Kit. Take a bite. Kit. Good talking. Kit. Good.
Good eating too, buddy.
That's a little bitty bite, but it counts. Yay!
How do you feel
feel about that it's so dependent on the iPhone?
He'll take 3 bites in between games, so I think eventually it'll be 4 bites, and eventually it'll be finish the soup, and you can have the iPhone. So I think we can work it. That's been less than a week of just limiting that even, so he'll do it. I think if he's got a big enough reward at the end, he'll do it. Take a bite. Pea soup. Huge bite. Holy schmoly. Good job, kiddo. Yay! That was really good. You want to take another bite? Oh, it's cat. It's totally worth another bite. It's totally worth. Let's take 3 bites. You can do it. That'll count. I'll give you credit since it's pea soup. Mommy wouldn't eat that.
So the self-feeding just happened in this past week?
Since Sabrina suggested to pause the video, which I thought would never work. I thought it would just make him mad. And he has gotten mad. We've had some tantrums, to say the least, but he's kind of starting to figure out that we're not kidding.
Daddy.
Daddy?
Papa.
Daddy and Mommy.
Bye.
And Papa. Do you see Papa?
Papa.
What? Baby.
Papi.
Baby.
Papi.
Mommy or baby? I don't know.
Papi.
Mommy, baby. Mommy,
Papa.
baby, baby.
Papa. Baby.
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 Is he a baby too?
I'm not a baby.
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 Hold on. Look, Jack Riley, look. What is this?
Baby.
Jessica continues teaching functional pretend play to Jack Riley. The reason is so he's able to play appropriately with his toys and be able to interact with other kids when preschool begins.
Knock, knock. Let's go. You do it. And we're also doing a token system now where he has to sit and earn 3 tokens before he's able to get up, just so that he sits longer, and he also has a visual so that he knows that, okay, when I get all my stickers, then I can go play and do whatever it is that I want him to do. Play! So now we're having him do 3 things for us first, and then letting him go. What is it? It's an iguana. Yeah. Iguana. Good try. That's iguana. Very good. It looks like a guitar. It's a violin. Is it violin?
Baby.
Yeah, violin. I love how you're saying all your words, especially all the new words. So what's that one? Umbrella. You say it? Umbrella. Good. For having him identify labels, but also using a full sentence response. So instead of just saying chicken, we're having him say it's a chicken, just so we can develop his language a little better. And he just gets used to labeling things that way. All right.
Bubble.
Yeah, bubbles. You want more?
The bubble.
Okay, sit down. We gotta get our stickers. Yeah. Okay. All the way. Sit down all the way. Thank you. What is it? Say it's. No, look better. Jack Riley, do you want bubbles? Do you want bubbles? Do you want bubbles? Yeah, okay. What is it? Say it's. Yeah, it's a chicken. Good job. 2 more stickers. Look. Okay, what is it? Say it's. Yeah, it's a chicken. 1 more. What is it? Good job. There you go, Jack. You get your bubbles. Good job. Look. All your stickers. It took us a few days to even get him to say it's a, so he was just saying chicken because he knows what it is. But yeah, today it's he's saying a chicken, and then at the end he said it's a chicken. So that's actually pretty good. No, sit down, and then you get bubbles. No, Jack Riley. Okay, come on, sit down, and then I give you bubbles. Yeah. There you go. That's it down. Here we go. All right, can you try? Okay, ready? Sit down. No, you need to sit down. No, try again. Sit down.
Sit down, buddy.
No, try again, honey. Sit down, buddy. Okay, you try, okay? Yay! You try. Ready? Sit down. This is sit down, bud. Okay? Okay, you try. Jack Riley, try.
As you saw earlier, sit down is a task Jack Riley knows how to do. Right now, Jessica is establishing compliance and consistency in following requests.
Okay. Hey, bud. Hey. You try again. Okay. No. Try again, buddy. That's a better chair. All right. Let's use that one, okay? Okay. Ready? Ready? Sit down. That's it. Bubbles. Jack, first, and then you get bubbles. Okay. Show me how you sit. Do you want bubbles? Sit down. That's it down. Now, Jack Riley, try all by yourself. Okay?
Show me. I'm ready. Show me how you sit.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Sit down. Okay, all by yourself.
Show me how you sit.
Ready? Sit down. There you go. That's sitting. There you go, bud.
Bubbles. Can you show me?
Do you want these? Or you want those?
You want to show me how you sit? I know, it was hard, wasn't it? Oh.
See, now I think it's just more tension. It's all tension. He's just waiting for Mike to go over there. Or he's pooping.
That would be a better reason.
He's going right. Of course, I didn't sweep under there, so it's like he's got to be wearing it.
Do you think he might be pooping?
Well, there would be a reason why he'd want to go into a private spot and get a minute, and if we weren't giving him that minute to do it, that could be why he went a little nutty there.
He's definitely due.
That could be. I mean, that definitely makes him mad, and I've caught him a few times where I try to get him like up on the chair at bedtime, and something tells me that now's not the time to fight him, and I'll let him down, and he'll go in the corner and do his business.
The reason Jack Riley's behavior was so intense was because he couldn't communicate his needs. This is why language is so important. Without it, how can he let others know his wants and desires?
We need to teach him that. I have to go to the bathroom, guys. Give me a minute. That's all you have to say. It's like bubbles are nice, but I got stuff to do. Feel better, buddy?
Welcome back. That was the A word, and we're going to have an opportunity to talk about this particular episode a little bit later on in the program. But right now, I wanted to introduce our special guest today. We have Emily Iland with us via Skype, and I was talking about her a little bit before. Emily is really, truly one of the great pioneers in the field of autism as a parent and as an advocate. And I'm incredibly fortunate that I just happen to live in the same community as she does. And I tell you, I mentioned this earlier that I'm incredibly grateful for her because she just cleared a path that made it so much easier for me as a parent. So I got to get much more done sooner in my world because I didn't have to worry about my community. But that's just one of the many things that Emily Iland has done for the children who are on the spectrum, both in my community and around the world. She's also the president of the Los Angeles chapter of the Autism Society. And she's an author and an amazing, amazing woman. And she has a seminar that's coming up on the 30th of this month that I want her specifically to talk with us about. So Emily, are you there? There she is.
It's my pleasure to be here and, to collaborate with you. And, I'm so excited to help listeners learn about autism and how they can help their children just like we're doing.
Well, Emily, I have to tell you how much I admire you, and you know, I only got to meet you officially about a month and a half ago when you were on the show talking about the Autism Society in the Los Angeles chapter. It was the first time I'd actually met you, but I live day to day with the realities of the things that you have brought, the gifts that you have brought to our community, and I had the opportunity to talk with you on the phone when I was going through some stuff with my child earlier. So it's a wonderful thing to be getting to know you and to let other people get to know you. I want to start with having you talk a little bit about how autism came to be into your life, Emily.
Sure. Well, I had a son, my first child, who was confusing to me. He had all this unusual and uneven development, like amazing abilities in some area, and then he didn't do things we expect children to do, like talk and play with their toys. And so, you know, I was pretty much confused by him. But my sister was the Illinois State Consultant for Autism at the time, and she kept saying to me, Em, he has autism, he has autism. I said, no, it couldn't be true. It's not true. And so he went for a screening when he was 5 in 1989, and they said, nope, that's not autism because he's a genius, and kids who are geniuses can't have autism. That's what they thought back then.
Right.
So we kind of went away, and I just managed it. My sister helped me out. And, you know, things didn't get better. Some things did, but other things didn't get better or got worse. So we started looking for answers. And when he was 14, he was diagnosed as having Asperger's. And then it all made sense. However, his official diagnosis is autism because he did have a language delay and language regression. So he looks like a person with Asperger's and officially is, you know, a person with autism. But as we know, that distinction is going away in the next diagnostic manual, and maybe we could spend less time worrying about that and more time figuring out what everybody needs who's on the spectrum.
I hope that that's what comes of this. I mean, we're all waiting to see where those cards fall, but I hope that's what comes of it. And now, Emily, you're an author, and we should start by talking about Autism Spectrum Disorder A to Z. When did you decide to write that book?
Let's see, Tom was diagnosed in around 94, and it took about 10 years till I was ready to write a book. I spent a lot of time after the diagnosis, when I finally accepted it, looking for answers. I had 1,000 questions. I spent so much time looking for answers, and back then they weren't that plentiful. I mean, I think when I Googled autism, there was only 11 books that existed or something crazy like that back then. Yeah,
wow.
in 94.
Man.
So I talked to my sister, and I said, you know, I have 1,000 questions. I've spent all this time looking for answers, and I want to put them in a book for parents, so parents don't have to go through this, kind of like you, Shannon. I wrote it for you and people like you.
Absolutely.
And she said, well, you know, Em, professionals have the same questions. We don't have autism in our training and schooling. We don't know more than the parents do necessarily, and we all need to have the same information to work together and collaborate and understand people's needs and meet them. So we wrote our book together with a parent and professional perspective, and then I translated it myself into Spanish because I had been meeting people along my journey who spoke only Spanish, and they were more in the dark and more isolated than me. And I thought, well, I happen to have studied Spanish as my major in college, so I spent 660 hours translating my book into Spanish.
Man.
And now I travel all around the world presenting in both English and Spanish on almost every topic on autism.
An amazing book, and one of the first books that was handed to me when my son was diagnosed. So Autism Spectrum Disorder A to Z, and people can get that on Amazon, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they can also get it on your website, isn't that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially the Spanish version. I'm the distributor of the Spanish version.
Okay, fabulous. But you've got a newer book out that's called Drawing a Blank, and that's what this seminar is going to be about on Friday. But I want to take just a minute and talk about how that book happened. How did you decide that you needed to write a book about reading comprehension?
Well, because I was one of those parents sitting at the kitchen table with Tom every single day doing his homework for 3 hours with both of us in tears every day from 4th grade on. And he would come home from school as if he had never seen the material before, and I would have to reteach him everything. And then at the end, he would say to me, "Mom, how come I always understand it when you explain?" And later I found out it was a line from Forrest Gump, but it was also true.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of amazing, and we hear that from our kids sometimes. But so, you know, you had this frustration, and you were in this moment with him constantly at the table, and I think a lot of us can relate to that it's really, really frustrating sometimes doing the homework. So how did you get from that to being frustrated? Because there's a lot of frustrated people out there, Emily, but they didn't write a book. How did you get from that to writing the book?
Well, I did want to add that we suffered in silence for a long time because I knew he was smart. And so I made sure he went back with his homework done every day and that he had it. And I never told the teachers that this was going on. So that's something important for us to all know, that we can be masking this severe comprehension problem. But then we did come to the district with it, and I began to look for ways to show that it was true, because if I did his homework with him and he went back and knew all the answers and got an A on the test, they didn't know he had a problem because I was masking it.
Right.
But we finally worked with the district to find different ways to identify it using certain tests, but not all tests, and then try to find ways to work on it. And as he went to college, I realized that reading comprehension was going to be his undoing. The demands the potential he had to do mathematics and be a certified public accountant, but the problems he was having understanding the material. So I thought, we've got to do something. And I really wanted to know more about this problem. So I said, okay, I know what I'll do. I'll go get a master's in special ed and I'll find out all about this problem, and we'll be able to help other people. And then when I got to a master's level program, I found out that they weren't even talking about this topic. It wasn't on the radar for the special ed is more about learning disabilities and not really the very specific nature of the comprehension issue in people on the spectrum.
Well, Emily, I just have to say, I'm always amazed by the people that I meet on the spectrum and the things that they do to help their kids. And there's a part of me that I go, that's amazing, but there's another part of me that goes, of course that's what you thought. Of course that's what you thought. I know I'm going to go and get a master's degree in special education because I'm going to figure this out. It's just a tribute to the spirit of a mom. It's going to make me cry. I just think but of course that's what you did. Of course you would do that. And we all get to benefit from it, which is really exciting. I think what we should do is take a little bit of a break. And when we come back, I want to talk specifically about the seminar that's happening on Friday, who should come to it, why they should come to it, and what is in this book, Drawing a Blank. Because as a parent, I was saying this to you earlier, this is right exactly where I am as a parent. This, touches me personally because my child is doing so well, but where he needs that help and support is with the reading comprehension. So you are singing my song, girl.
Very good. We'll talk more.
Okay, let's take a break and we'll come back more with Emily Iland after this message.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the...
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet. Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism, and now you get to ask her questions every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Ask Dr. Doreen. Welcome back to Autism Live. Our special guest right now is Emily Iland. She is the author of Autism Spectrum Disorder A to Z and also a new book, Drawing a Blank, Improving Comprehension for Readers on the Autism Spectrum. And Emily is having a seminar, a one-day seminar next Friday, November 30th in Burbank, California, about drawing a blank and how we can help our children be able to read and comprehend better, giving them the tools tools that they need so that they can be successful in reading comprehension. So Emily, thank you so much for being with us. Talk to us a little bit about who should be coming to the seminar and what kinds of things that they'll learn at the seminar.
Sure. Well, it's for parents and professionals because it takes parents and professionals to work together to address this issue because it's so pervasive. And when I was at CSUN, oops, I said which university, when I was doing my master's degree, people really weren't talking about the specific needs of people on the spectrum. And we're thinking maybe things that work for people with other disabilities will work for people on the spectrum. And that turns out not to be true. That's what I found out in my independent study that resulted in the book. So first I looked at all the research, and this is in the book, and we'll discuss it in the seminar. What is this problem exactly? Where does it come from? What features of autism contribute to it? And then knowing that, how do we address it? The next thing I looked at was every study that exists for the evidence about what to do. And there were only 11 studies out of 754 studies on reading comprehension instruction. Only 11 had a person with autism in the study. So in other words, we don't have a lot to go on. 11 studies out of 754.
Wow.
So I did find 4 techniques that should work, and I will be teaching those. One of them is called a primer passage, where we spell things out before somebody reads. And it's a technique used with English language learners. But I always say that kids on the spectrum are almost like English language learners in their own language.
Yeah.
Because of their developmental differences in their language.
Absolutely. So incredible. So really it could be parents or teachers. If a parent is sitting there watching right now and they're thinking to themselves, okay, I would like to come to this, and we just showed the flyer for a second, and I'll have Emily show it again. If they would like to come to it, they can, and we'll put it up on our Facebook too, so that they can see where they can find the link to. But I'm wondering if somebody wanted to send their child's teacher to this event, I would think that would be a great teacher gift to give somebody instead of going and buying the hot chocolate and the mug and all that stuff, because they can get, I see that they can get CEU credits for it, so continuing education credits for it.
And everybody who attends receives the book.
Which is a wonderful thing.
So basically, I'm going to do a guided tour of the book so that it's a tool that every single attendee has for understanding the problem, for knowing what the evidence says. And then, of course, I was not satisfied with 4 techniques, and I knew that they didn't touch on every area. Yeah. So then I went looking and creating 3 more chapters full of other ideas, things that are well matched to the learning profile in autism, especially for good decoders. You know, I say that if you're a good decoder on the spectrum, it's like a Trojan horse. These are these kids who are reading early or could read anything but have no idea what it means.
Right.
And the teachers are blinded by their strengths until about 4th grade when everything falls apart.
Yeah.
And so I believe that the seminar I'm doing and the book itself can do 2 things. One, remediate someone who has comprehension failure, and also prevent it in younger children. If everyone understands what the problem is, then we can do lots of things while children are still learning to read and comprehend at the same time. But to go back and help those struggling readers.
Well, I think that's wonderful. And as I said, you're singing my song because my son is in 4th grade this year. And this, when he took the CAT this last year, it was the first time we saw a little bit of a dip in the reading comprehension number. His numbers are great, but there's a little bit of a dip in the reading comprehension, and it scared me. And we got to get on this.
Well, because maybe you felt it in your gut all along, and maybe he remembers things and gets 80% correct that are the factual questions, and then when it comes to the inference or reading between the lines,
exactly,
he draws a blank.
Exactly. Well, or he's somewhere else. For my particular child, it's like he's on a different page always than where they are. I had somebody observe him last year. They were reading the City Mouse and the Country Mouse, and somebody was there observing, and they were asked what the theme of Country Mouse and City Mouse was. And all the kids in 3rd grade were saying all these different things. And my son started talking about the Industrial Revolution. And they told him he was wrong.
Oh dear. I wonder if he was.
Right.
To do with mice.
Right. I don't know, but but in any case, sometimes he's so far over here that on a test it's wrong. So I want him to get it. I want him to get it and not be held back by it. And I think sometimes he is held back by it.
Absolutely.
But I think a really incredible thing. So take us through the day a little bit, because it starts at 9 o'clock the day.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to have our morning session. And one reason I believe in explaining what the problem is because once people understand the problem really well, you can find your own solutions. You don't have to wait for me to tell you what the research says or what I've done in the educational therapy clinic at a university where I'm teaching children to read in a clinic. And by the way, you didn't know that, did you, Shannon?
I didn't know that you were teaching children how to read in a clinic. You and I we have to talk.
Well, I'm finishing a postmaster's certificate in educational therapy, and that's it's basically taking the strategies in my book and trying them out with living, breathing, wonderful, third and fourth graders, and it's working.
Well, and I was going to say to you too, because you were able to do this with your son with great success, correct?
Yes, the things I did with him were less formal because I worked with him prior to writing the book. So we were just trying to figure it out for ourselves. But when he was in college, I went back to get the answers, and some of the things helped. For example, when he was going to take the CPA exam for the state of California to become a certified public accountant, we did some very specific testing of his comprehension and language and submitted the results to the Board of Examiners, and they allowed him to have an electronic dictionary for the CPA exam.
Oh, nice.
And for that reason, he passed. He had to use it 15 or 20 times over the course of the 4 sections. And it's related to his developmental difference in language. But if we weren't able to describe it and explain it and document it, he would not have passed the CPA exam because he didn't know the meaning of words like conservatively speaking or things like this. So he knew the math, but he couldn't figure out the problem if there was a word blocking his way.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Really amazing. Okay, and so now you've had the opportunity. So you worked with him and you specified with him, wrote the book, and now you've had the opportunity to be working on this with, as you said, living, breathing, real children. And how successful is this, Emily?
It has been very successful. All different things that pique their imagination. We're going to do a lot of the activities at the seminar. It's not just sit there and listen.
Okay.
We're going to see videos of kids using it. We're going to be hands-on ourselves and walk away with all sorts of new tools and options in your toolbox.
Love it. We've got a question from a viewer, Emily. They want to know if I would please ask you, what is the best method for reading comprehension testing for our kids?
I have a whole appendix on that question, because a lot of times it's masks. There's problems with masking, like the Woodcock-Johnson, for example, has one specific way of measuring a certain type of comprehension, but it's not necessarily the kind of problems our kids are having. So in Appendix 8, I have 3 pages of tests that do get to the bottom of it. And I created this appendix either from things that work for my son or from some speech pathologists who helped me, and finally from what the researchers used to get to the bottom of the comprehension issue. So an example would be the test of problem solving, which is a social thinking test, but it helps us realize the types of comprehension problems a person is going to have if they can't understand characters or motivation or problems and resolutions. Another one is the Neal analysis reading ability test that was used by some researchers to identify the gap between accuracy and understanding, which is exactly the gap that our children are experiencing.
Absolutely. Well, Emily, this is fabulous, fabulous information. So getting back to the seminar is on Friday, November 30th. It's in Burbank, California. It is not too late to register. For people who register and need CEUs, they are available, and your registration includes getting the books and the materials. It's very hands-on, interactive. And it is you. It's not that they're going to go and they're going to see you for 10 minutes and see a bunch of other speakers. This is you talking about this information.
For 6 hours.
6 hours. You're going to be tired at the end of it.
You know what? I'm so energized by it because people get so excited and happy to think, oh my gosh, I get it and now I know what to do.
Absolutely. Well, I am excited about this, and I am trying to make it possible so that I can be there, because as a parent, this is really where we're at. So I want to be there. But I also want to, for people who can't get there, they're too far away and live other places, they can still get your book and have a great tool, yes?
Yes, and also I do travel all over the country speaking on this, so it's I'm going to be in Philadelphia area, no, Pittsburgh in February, and I've been working in Indiana and Nebraska, and kind of people are getting wind of this and bringing me in, so I can come to any school district that would, or community that would like to sponsor an event.
Great.
And also, hand in hand, H&H Associates, they're the ones who are putting on this event. They are interested in putting this event on all over the country. So that's a good website to check out, H&H Associates USA, to make a request to have me come and do it in your town.
Okay, so if you've got a group of people in your town and that you are, well, we always talk about that global and more local support group. If your local support group would like for Emily to come, that's definitely something that you can look into. But in the meantime, you can get your hands on the book. They can find it on your website, Emily, and also on Amazon, correct?
Yes, and my publisher would like me to say you can get it at AAPC Publishing.
Okay, AAPC Publishing. Great. So there are all of those different places that you can get your hands on the book and get started, because this is a really important piece of the puzzle for our kids.
Yes, it's a make it or break it issue, and the sooner you get working on it, the better. And there are lots of ways to improve comprehension, but what works for everybody doesn't necessarily work for people on the spectrum.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that you're starting to work on this with districts. So there are districts that are having you come in and do this with all of the teachers?
Yes, they invite the reading specialists, the resource teachers, all sorts of people come in, and the districts are actually putting it on. I've had as many as 150 people in the room so far from just one educational area in Nebraska.
Okay, well, Emily, you live in my community.
Yep.
What do I need to do to have you do this for the school district that my child is in, that I think you are aware of what school district that is?
Yes, well, I've invited them to send people to this event.
Okay.
And I've heard positive things, so hopefully they actually will.
Okay.
But of course, you could also spread the word. Rather than putting on their own event, just take advantage of this one.
Okay, all right. We will see about that, about doing that. We're going to show the flyer one more time so that people can see it on the screen there. This is Drawing a Blank, Improving Comprehension for Readers on the Autism Spectrum. There it is. You can learn more at HandHassociatesusa.com. There's also a phone number there that you can go to. Emily, I'm going to try to work it so that I can be there, because it's really important to me.
And we have early bird registration right now at a discount until the 23rd, so don't wait till after Thanksgiving to sign up. Sign up now.
Okay, and I thank you so much for being with us, and we'll have to have you back on the show to talk about some of the things that you have done in our community with the police and with other organizations, and what a pivotal part of the community that you've been. But I thank you so much. You are very definitely on my gratitude list this week.
Well, thank you. That's very inspirational to me to know that what I've been doing helps people, and that's the whole point.
It absolutely does. So I thank you so much. And you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you to you too, and to all your listeners.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Sounds good. Bye.
So Emily Iland, another awesome autism mom, and this wonderful, wonderful seminar, Drawing a Blank. If you're interested in reading comprehension for our kids on the autism spectrum, if you can get to Burbank on November 30th, a great thing to attend. If you can't get there, see about having her come to your community to be there for your child's school or for a group that you work with. And by all means, get your hands on that book, Drawing a Blank. It's improving improving reading comprehension for individuals on the autism spectrum. You can find that on Amazon.com, and you can find more information about it at that HNHUSA.com. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about some of the things that you guys have written in, so stick with us. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm Shannon Penrod, and with me in the kitchen right now is Emily Goodwin. She's the technical director of our show and very creative, so I've asked her to be here with me to show you some really fun, easy, and healthy recipes that you can do for Thanksgiving with your children. Okay, so the first thing we want to show you how to do is make this lovely fall bouquet of vegetables. What we've used here are many different colors of peppers, but we made some awesome dip that are holding the skewers of the vegetables so that, yes, not only showing you your kids can dip them in, it really encourages them to eat their colorful veggies. And the dip was made with sour cream, cream cheese, and a lovely organic ranch dip mix. So easy to find and easy to make, and if you chill it, it sets up a little bit harder so that you can stick the skewers in and they stand up. So what we need to make the actual leaves are lots of different colors of peppers that we have, and some skewers and some cookie cutters. Before the kids come though, you want to prep a couple of things and get them ready, because you're going to need a sharp knife to cut into the pears. I'm taking off the top of the pear and the bottom, and I'm removing that to the side, just making a cut into it, and I'm going to take out the seeds and the little spines as much as I can so that I can lay it as flat as possible. And Emily, how about if you pick out a cookie cutter for me there that I'm going to cut.
With this one.
And if you have time, you can cut all these little spines out so that it makes it easier for the kids. And then invite the kids in with the cookie cutters, and you lay it flat. And she's picked this wonderful leaf. I'm going to find a spot where it's going to fit pretty well, and I want to start it, but don't get too far before I take a plate, stick it on top of the cookie cutter, and push down. And you can hear the little crunch sound. It just makes it easier on the hands when you do that. And you can see that sometimes there's little shreds that I need to take care of, but it makes a lovely leaf. And I'm going to hand that off to Emily so that she can skewer it while I take another piece of pepper. This is from a red one. I'm going to make a lovely maple leaf out of this one. I'm going to start it, put the plate on it, and crunch it. And the kids love it. Makes a terrible little crunchy noise, but it's really kind of fun. Get some aggression out, pull it out, and just clean it up a little bit around the edges. But you get the idea. It makes a lovely, crisp autumn leaf that's so colorful. And we stick them in the dip, and the kids enjoy taking them out of the pot and sticking them in the dip and eating them. It's a wonderful way to introduce them to the fun of fresh vegetables and get the rainbow inside them, because we always talk at my house about we need to eat the rainbow. We know that all those colors are good for us, and it tastes good. Wonderful. Easy to do. And now we are going to make some really awesome fruit turkeys. We need a Bosc pear, we need an apple and an orange. This is kind of a light-skinned orange, but it is an orange, and some lemon juice. What I've already done is taken half of a lemon and squeeze it, because we don't want our apples to get brown. Just squeeze it. I know it's spitting at us both. That's okay. It smells good. And I would probably, depending on the age of my child, prep some of this ahead of time. But if they're good with dull knives, and you don't need a sharp knife for any of this, then you can have them help. I just cut the pear in half. And if you wanted to, if your child's a big fruit eater, you could go ahead and core it now. But we're going to assume that they're not going to eat the whole thing. And she's placed her turkey there. Now I'm going to take an apple that's been washed, and I'm just going to cut it into segments. I'm going to take the time to core these and have you dip them in the lemon. That's going to prevent it from browning, because we know that our kids generally don't like to eat things that are brown. They say it's gone bad. Dipping it in the lemon, it gives it a little bit of tang and keeps it from browning. What I like about this is that we're encouraging our children to play with our food. And that's a good thing to get them to eat healthy. Have them play with the food, arrange it like feathers around the plate. I think that's probably enough. And then I'm going to take the orange and cut it into segments. And these are going to become other feathers on our turkey. And you could put other fruits in, and you could put other vegetables in if you wanted to. You could also put it on a bed of some kind of nut butter if your child doesn't have allergies to those. You could do peanut butter or almond butter, anything like that. So we've got them all arranged so that it looks like feathers. We have to give this turkey some character. So we're going to take half of a cashew, and I'm going to have you figure out where his nose goes and just jam it right in there. And then these are all natural, dehydrated, they're just dried cranberries that we're going to use for a snood. And go ahead and stick a snood next to his little nose. They start to really have some character. And what we did was took really organic, fresh, dried mango pieces and with scissors cut little feet. And the kids can do these with kitty scissors and plop those feet right on there. And this is a great thing to give to a child, something to do, and then they get to eat their turkey, gobble it up. Really healthy, really fresh tasting, fabulous stuff for our kids. Awesome. Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble. Now we're moving on to our politically correct Native American corn cookies. We have some organic candies here. We have some generic white frosting. We have some fruit roll-up here.
You can get these organic and vegetable colored so that you aren't using artificial colors and flavors. If you choose to, you pretty much have to order them online, but you can get them.
Yes. And then we have just some oval-shaped cookies. You can use any kind of cookie. You can use shortbread or wafer. These are just the ones that we have here. So I split my cookie in half. And then you're just going to use a little bit of frosting. And you're only actually frosting one end of the cookie. So you don't even need that much frosting. And then we're going to use our candies and decorate it to look like an ear of Native American corn.
Mine's very orange. I don't know why. Okay.
So it should look like this when you're there. And this is the hard part, because the fruit roll-up is a little sticky, and I have a sharp knife, but you certainly don't need one. It's very soft to cut. And this one happened to come in 2 colors, so I cut the blue piece off, or you can cut just 1/2 of your fruit roll-up. You're just gonna wrap the bottom half. This just helps support the leaves once you start to attach the green. So you're just wrapping the bottom half of the cookie. Then with the green part, you're gonna wanna cut some leaves just like this. And I cut about 4 of these out with a piece of fruit roll-up I have left. They don't have to be perfect.
And kids will enjoy this, and you really can use a table knife for this. In fact, I'm going to do that with my table knife here. Oh, that's super duper easy. It's fun too. It's a little on the sticky side. This is a great sensory thing.
And then from there, you're just gonna attach your leaves as if it were an ear of corn. So they'll flap out just a little bit, and I start with the back 2 leaves. And it stretches, it's fruit roll-up. And then front 2 leaves. So it's starting to look like an ear of corn. And then I use the extra fruit roll-up just to wrap the bottom of the cookie to complete the green, because sometimes you can see through to the blue. But then that's it, and you've got your little ear of corn cookie.
Mine's not fully done, but he's coming along. Cool.
Pretty easy.
Very fun and tasty too. Welcome back. It's a week to talk about food, right? There's a lot of, just go to a grocery store. It's all about food this week. And we are going to talk about food again in just a second. But you guys wrote in some things that I want to discuss. Somebody wrote in and said, just wanted to share how much I've enjoyed watching the past 2 Wednesdays with Dr. Doreen. She has so much to offer your viewers, and thank you for continuing to add to your show and make it new and fresh. I just want to remind people, and thank you so much for writing in and saying that you're enjoying it, because I get so excited. to be able to sit down and talk to her, she's such a wealth of information, isn't she? It's just sort of, it's mind-boggling what she knows and what she says. And, you know, we're keeping all the questions because we don't get through all the questions, but we're keeping them in a bank and we'll keep adding them. And I just don't want you guys to get discouraged. There's a part of me that's about that positive reinforcement that when you guys write in questions, I want to make sure that we get them answered. It's impossible. There are so many questions, but we're trying to cycle through and get to everything. So please don't get discouraged if you're writing in. We're keeping those questions and we'll make sure that they get answered one way or the other. It just may take a while. And keep, you know, don't be afraid to write the same question in again the next week, you know, because she is an amazing resource. She's an amazing woman. She's a visionary, and it's sort of like sitting down with the encyclopedia of autism, really. And so take advantage, and you know, and you don't have to wait till the day of. A lot of times the first question I do is something that we got a day or two before. So feel free to write in now and say, because we're doing another live show on Wednesday with her. So feel free to write those questions in and really take advantage of it. I can't tell you, I was so excited when she's wanted to do this for a while, and I was so excited when she said, I'm going to clear this time. It was a little, because she's a very busy woman who flies around the world. But I was so excited when I heard that, and I'm glad that you guys are getting excited because you see what I got excited about, which is a lovely thing. So in any case, keep those questions coming in, and don't forget that Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, we will be taking live questions again this Wednesday. But thanks for writing in and saying that you're liking it, because boy, I love it. Now, I promised we were going to talk about food. Somebody else wrote in and said, praying that my 10-year-old mainstream son will please, please, please like eating what the adults are eating this year. And I don't know if that came before or after I was saying that I want to invite you. I'm sending you that air hug there. I want to invite you to have a really good Thanksgiving and to make a plate that has nothing to do with what the adults are eating. Now, does that mean you give up on having your child like what the adults? No. Have that plate ready of the things that you know your child will eat and that your child loves, whatever it is. And then you can also leave space on that plate to put things that the adults are eating as well, and say, here it is, and have absolutely no vested interest in what actually gets eaten on the plate. And I know that people are going to say things. Believe me, I know. And you know what we have to do? We have to let that go. They're going to say things, and they're going to think things, and they can, and they will. And you know what? That's on them. It really is. It's Thanksgiving. It's about having a meal and about being together. I would encourage you, as much as you might be working on whatever else you're working on food-wise, not for that meal. Put it on there. We know research tells us that 20 times that you got to present the same foods before you can have a realistic expectation that your child will eat it. 20 times, right? I don't know about you, but how often do you put cranberry sauce out? Is it like 4 meals in a year? So how many years before our kids will supposedly try and like cranberry sauce? And the research says you need to do it, fairly often, like not do it once a year. So heaven only knows. They might be 20 before they like the cranberry sauce. And you know what? Who cares? It's not like Thanksgiving is going to be canceled if our kids don't eat the cranberry sauce. I just would think, because my question is, who do we need that for? So that they fit in, or so that you feel they fit in, or so that some supposedly well-intentioned relative who's at the table shuts their pie hole? You know what? I just came back from spending a whole lot of time with family who I love and adore. People say things. And you know what? It's not that it doesn't get upsetting, but we have to be willing to let it go. It's our kids' food. And that's when you need that autism buddy, somebody to say, what's it got to do with them anyway? Why should they care what's on your child's plate? If your child is eating, And especially at Thanksgiving, like, what judgments do they want to bring to it? They want to bring, oh, it's not healthy, and everything else that you're having at Thanksgiving is. I say dismiss them from your consciousness and have your child eat for that day. Have a day where you sit at the table, and if that means they're having popcorn for Thanksgiving, everybody else is going to eat pecan pie. That's my feeling. I feel like there's probably more to it there, but I just want to send you hope and love that your expectations meet the day in a way that can be happy and joyous for you and your child. I go right back to Halloween, and I sat here and said to you guys, when they start taking off the costume pieces, let them. And then I'm out walking with my child, and he's, peeling things off, and he wants to do it this way, and I'm going, I thought we were, no, okay, you're right. This is a holiday for you, as much as it is for anybody else. What do you want to do? It's hard sometimes, because our expectations and their expectations and other people's expectations, right? And that's when it does get into this. We don't need that on this day. Not about the food. Not about the food on that day. So I want to encourage you to let that go. When you let me know how that works, right? I know I'm no better at it either. But who knows? Who knows what they will or will not eat on that given day? And depending on what time it is and who prepared it and what they did with it. In any case, you know that I have your back, whatever you end up deciding to do. All right, we're here, we're towards the end of the show, and I just wanted to take a minute, because we are going to be doing shows today and tomorrow and Wednesday to go over some of the different things that are going to be going on here. Tomorrow we have Evelyn Gould back with us, and we are going to continue to talk about expectation. Our expectations, our kids' expectations, our expectations for our kids, and how we deal with all of that, how we deal with our perspective of what the holiday should be, and leave room for other people to have their personal perspective of what the holiday should be. And of course, Evelyn will be taking your questions, and you can be writing those in as well, particularly brilliant at answering questions that have to do with us and our emotional experience of this journey through autism. Then on Wednesday, of course, as I mentioned before, we'll have Ask Dr. Doreen starting right at the top of the show, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and that will be very exciting. And then we have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy back on Wednesday, and we are going to, we have a special guest on Wednesday, but we're also going to break down what happened at Denim and Diamonds. It was really a star-studded event. It was really very exciting, and I got to meet Bonnie Hunt, which, as if that wasn't enough, then there were also some really amazing people there. Lou Diamond Phillips. We got some great interviews with them, and we'll be showing that to you on Wednesday. There's also a story that we have been following and want to start to bring to you this Wednesday of a family that a really amazing story. I talk about Nancy Alspaugh Jackson and what an incredible woman she is on this show, and I let you guys know about Autism Care and Treatment Today that Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet founded, and that Nancy Alspaugh Jackson is the executive director of it, and what an amazing organization that gives grants to families for the kinds of things that they need. But there's so much more to Nancy Alspaugh Jackson, and she came to all of us a couple of months ago and said, a family has come to my attention. A young family that she had met in her private life, that they shared with her because they knew that she had something to do with autism. They shared that they had a nephew in Uganda, and that this nephew had been diagnosed with autism, and that they feared for his life. Because the people in his village thought that he was either possessed or that he was faking it, and that he was a thief because he is an eloper. He wanders and goes into places and likes to touch things, and they felt that he was a thief. And so they were beating him on a regular basis. I know, it takes my breath away. But what Nancy Alspaugh Jackson did, I gotta tell you guys, I talk about how she's a tour de force and how she's an amazing woman. And you know, in amongst a whole bunch of other things that were going on for her, and while her dad was dying, and you know, a whole bunch of other things that she was doing, Nancy Alspaugh Jackson made sure that that child got here to the United States, and that he was evaluated, and that, you know, she is helping to make sure that this family gets that child safe first and foremost, and then the help that he needs. And so we've been starting to cover this story, and Nancy's going to be here on Wednesday to talk about that story. And for the first time, you'll get to see some footage of this beautiful child. And, you know, we think about gratitude and how hard it is here in the United States to raise a child. And I know for those of you who are watching around the world, we all have different circumstances, right? Even state to state, here in the States, it's different. And you can get angry and you can get frustrated. And then you see how it is in some places and you go, wow. We're not where we need to be here, but we sure have a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be grateful for. So Nancy will be with us on Wednesday to talk about that right before we all split for this holiday, and then we'll be back on Monday. And on Monday, it is our plan, I hope we're not going to be slowed up by the fact that I was away, to start talking about toys. Toys. Because it's that time of year, no matter which holiday you celebrate, it's likely that you or someone you know will be purchasing a toy for your child. And, you know, there's a lot of toys out there. Emily's going to start to show you as I ramble on some of the ways that you can get in touch with us. There's a lot of toys out there that you can spend a whole lot of money on that A, your child won't be interested in, and B, won't help them on this journey. But I gotta tell you, there's some great toys out there that you can spend a little money or a lot of money on that not only will your child be able to find interesting with a little help and support, but will also help your child to learn and grow. You gotta love that, right? And so we wanna spend our toy dollars wisely for our individual children. So we're gonna start to take that on hopefully next week. That's what was planned, and we're working to get that done. But I want to remind you of our message today about expectations and about gratitude on a shifting on a shifting world, that this is our reality. Things are different from moment to moment, and our expectation of what's going to happen is very frequently not what actually happens. And I want to encourage you to keep your sense of humor about it, to plan for all the contingencies, and to let go of the plan and be in the moment. That's really what it's all about. This is a great week to celebrate what is and not what isn't, and to find that core of gratitude. It's all about Thanksgiving. I want to remind you that we're going to be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 a.m. Pacific Time. And at the top of the 11 o'clock hour, the second hour, is when we'll be joined by Evelyn Gould. But we've got some fun stuff for you in the morning. So make sure that you tune back in tomorrow. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.